Okay. Yes. So this chen is so incredible because it's tied into a belonging. Now, how can we talk about belonging? All right, so we married. Yes, I belong to each other. He's the husband, I'm the wife. We belong, but the belonging is deeper. It's belonging because we are a unity. That's the emuna. That's the piece that you'll never intuit. You have to just, it's a leap of faith that you and your husband are a creation. And if there's any issue, I'm not talking about violence, I'm talking about differences, and even though they might be deep differences, but deeper than the differences is connection. So if you're still feeling the differences, you haven't gone deep enough in to find the connection. So this is what made us into a couple. And and this is the basis. In other words, this emuna, this knowing that we are a unity, this accessing this unity through a woman's faithfulness towards her husband. And in turn, it's not a one-way street because it draws out of him, it brings him to connect back. Ani lidodi, vidodi li. I initiate. I start. I show my closeness to my husband, my faithfulness, my attachment, my belief in my attachment to him, and vidodi li, and he will connect back to me. That's what a woman wants. So the chen is tied into it's not how they translate grace, find favor. It's based on an underlying belief that we have in the unity between the two of us. And from that knowledge and feeling of the underlying unity, magia ha'ahava, the love comes. Now, what is love in Judaism? It's not romance. Love is connection, feeling absolutely, totally connected. How can Hashem mandate love, that we love him? Because all we have to do is think and realize that we are connected to Hashem in every split second of our living, breathing existence. That's love, just an awareness of the connection. And this is when you know that the connection is based on something very real, even though it's not tangible, but it's a knowing real, and it's a knowing that we are one. This brings to the true love. This is a love that doesn't go up and down. It's a constant. I constantly feel connected to, I constantly looking forward to coming home, to seeing my husband, our husband coming home and seeing his wife, because we think about each other when we're away from each other, but the ability to also connect in person. This is the whole love. Love is all the different things we do to stay connected. And I want to add, in addition to staying connected, even when we don't feel like being connected, the husband did something that was not, we didn't feel was complimentary, was encouraging, was negative, was critical, and yet we can still stay connected. We have to be, don't put anything under the rug, nothing. If a husband says something that sounds inappropriate, you can say, and I'm just working with one woman on this, teaching her, this is something, it's like a whole new language, and that is, you can say, I know this wasn't your intention, but when you speak in that tone, it makes me feel unsafe, unprotected, degraded. And I know that's not so you start off with, I know that's not your intention. Now that is supernatural. When somebody does something that we feel is offensive to us, like, wow, the house is a mess, what have you been doing all day? It sounds like not only is a criticism about the house, but it's a criticism about what I've been doing all day. That's like a double whammy. And yet you can say, you can stay, here's where, this is the test of Emunah. This is not coming, it's not a missile, it's a mission. How do I respond? How do I stay connected? It's a tefillah. Hashem, help me stay connected. There is a message here. First, pay attention to the message. It's important to you that the house look a certain way. This is, once we do that, we create relationship because we're showing we're staying connected to our husband. That's automatically brings in the chaim. And then his ears, you have his both ears. If we try to either resist or fight, resist, or we don't engage, then what ends up happening is we don't have a relationship. And even in these difficult moments, the key is how to grab onto the relationship. The guy says to the wife, the kitchen, we're renovating house. The kitchen, it's all yours. Whatever you want, it is fine. She goes and picks everything, and then he comes in and he says, what? How come so many appliances? How come this? How come that? So, and it feels very intimidating and betraying. He said that. And you have to be able to stay. Relationship is the key here. It's not about the kitchen. How do I stay connected to him? And you say, I'm sure it's not your intention to make me feel uncomfortable or regret that I am, that we are doing this project. What would make me so happy is if you would just let me do things just the way you said, the kitchen is mine, and give it a bracha. That would make me so happy. You have to tell another person what we, as opposed to challenging them. You said the kitchen's mine. How could you come up? And that's so natural. You don't have to be Jewish for that. To be Jewish is to believe that there is an underlying reality of connection that's where I'm going. I have to go to that depth. It's like, what do they call it? That's how scuba diving is called. You dive very, very deep. Do you know? Deep sea diving. Deeper than the friction and the separation is the connection. And that's where we have to go. We go right deep down to the connection. And it's not easy. It is not easy and it's not natural, especially in today's world because we don't have models of this enough. And because the outside world has put us into an adversarial relationship with our husbands. Power struggle. You see it in our own marriages and we certainly see it in our friends. Unfortunately, because people's lives, for whatever it's worth, is not as private as it once was. Okay, so the chaim of the isha is that she's going right down to the deep diving, and she is staying faithful to what? She's not approving his inappropriate behavior. She's staying faithful to the connection that's real and saying, I know it's not your intention. Now, what is that equal to? Benefit of the doubt. That is exactly when you say, I know it's not your intention. And then you can say that to a husband, to a child, to a neighbor, anybody who's in any way adversarial to us. We stay connected. We're giving them, and it's a mitzvah. It's not just a cute little something. It's a mitzvah because what have I done? I've given the other person the benefit of the doubt. It is so precious. And that is what creates the chaim, that you see that the person feels your connection to them. What could be more in life? What could be more? This is more precious than anything else. This is the most, because that's our relationship with Hashem. Connection. So chaim is the quality of a woman to do deep sea diving and respond from the place of connection as opposed to the place of separation. Ulu umatzeh, Hareut yesh ba ahava. B'chol eit ohev hareya. Ach ein ba et hachem shel habrit. All right, now in an example of reut, where we have an external goal, we talked about this, the difference between ishut and reut. Ishut is what we're talking about now, deep sea diving to the essence of our unity and maintaining and expressing that relationship, that unifying relationship. But there's another type of relationship that's based on not on the depth of our connection, but based on an external goal that we want to both. Hold on 1 minute, please. I want to see, done speaking, trying to get it into my own class here. Get back into the class. Right. Okay. Who do we have here? Yasmin? Yasmin?
No, it's Tamar.
Tamar. Oh, okay, great.
I'll put, okay.
Oh, good, good,
I was
good.
gonna wait
Okay.
to put on my video till I got settled.
Okay, great. All right, so we're going on. So we're once again just looking at the same ideas from different angles, because this is so essential to healthy relationship. And healthy relationship means that we are being guided by our relationship with Hashem. Hashem is telling us, give the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, express yourself. Let the other person know what is on your mind, your way of looking at it. So the benefit of the doubt is, I know this is not your intention. And as soon as you feel something like this, you just, I know this is not your intention to, and then you express exactly what it is to make me feel intimidated, to make me feel in any way diminished, to make me feel insulted. I know that's not your intention, right? I want to tell you what would make me so happy. Share, let another person know what makes you happy. In this situation, if you would just give me an encouraging word, in this situation, if you would just give me 5 minutes of your time to help me out in the kitchen so I can clear out the dishes. It's just too much from after Shabbos. Whatever it is, instead of, you know, the husband say, wow, the kitchen, what a mess, what's going on? And you have to be able to say, I know it's not your intention to make me feel unsure or bad about the way the kitchen looks. It would mean so much to me if you could just give me 5 minutes of your help. And then we could, it would give me a jump start. And then I'd be able to handle the rest. Okay, so with the Re'im, the difference is that you have, we're not talking about chen. We're not talking about that deep, that deep connection. With Re'im, we're talking about relationships that bring us together because we have a common goal. Now, the higher and the more spiritual and the more eternal the goal is, like growth, spiritual growth in my emunah, helping each other to grow. The higher the goal is, right, the longer lasting and the more permanent the relationship will be. But if it's just, I'll scratch your back and you'll scratch mine, and that's the goal, and then somehow or other you don't have the time, the energy, the ability to scratch somebody else's back, help them do that, do them a favor, so they're out of the, so the whole connection gets dissolved. So we're talking about ha'avak kshehi la'atzma harehi tluya b'tzrachim chitzonim v'yesh ba'aleha yirida v'af hefsek. So when you're talking about re'im. We're talking about having an external goal, and if it is connected and it is dependent on achieving this external goal. So it is not. It could stop. Now, I would give you a very serious example in my mind. Let's say the husband and wife, they've agreed, they got married, they have children, and they're going to raise their children. And the goal is to raise the children in the Torah way. And then chas v'sholom, I would say, I'd call it a flip. Let's say the husband decides he doesn't want to be from anymore. And now raising the children and reaching this external goal is now very challenging, and it might be even undermined. And then the question comes, do they stay married or don't they stay married? It's not for me to answer because every situation is individual. I remember having once a couple where they started off actually secular. It was the opposite. And the husband became frum. And the wife, you see, feeling the unity, the deep unity between them, even though she was not in any way, she herself, she was not committed to being frum, but to stay connected and keep the marriage going, she was willing to go along and do whatever her husband asked her to do to create the environment that he needed and he wanted. And I met them when they were pretty, maybe a few years into marriage, no children yet, as far as I remember. But I was in awe of this secular woman here in Israel who had enough of a sensitivity. She was spiritually enough attuned to recognize the unity between herself and her husband. And she recognized that in order to live that unity, she would have to take on and her husband's wishes in this direction. Being frum is a lifestyle. It's not it's not just a little private. It's a whole home, and she was willing to do it. It was just an amazing thing. So she certainly had chen in her husband's eyes, and every woman who, whenever we access that deep, deeper than separation is unity. That is what we have to believe. And the only reason I feel secure in saying this is because I just was reading a quote from the Stipler, and we're going to get the Sefer so I can read it to you. The Stipler Zatzal. This was an incredible reading. This is in the Sefer that I've suggested that everybody, all of my married couples, should get here and learn together, living marriage, right? And it's like this. This is the words of the Stipler. Okay. This is the author of this Sefer had a direct relationship with the Stipler. So he said, when the Stipler instructed me about the ability of almost every couple to come to Shalom, he taught me a lesson which I would never forget. He began by explaining as a matter of fact. By the way, if anybody knows what the Stipler looks like, he looks like a lion. He has like a big head and very, very, and he could be very vocal and assertive when he was representing something that he knew was MS. So he said, this is what the Stipler said to the author. You must know that any couple that stood under the chuppah has a chazaka that it was for their best, even in this world, never mind the world to come. If it doesn't seem like that in the case, look again. If it doesn't seem like that is the case, look again. Okay, there's a reason why every couple is together. And it's to get them to gain the skills that it takes to get to the underlying, the deepest unity between them. After a moment of silence, the disciple once again repeated in a slightly louder voice, "If it still doesn't seem to look like that, look again." After another moment of silence, looking deeply into my eyes, he repeated the same words in a more forceful tone. "If it doesn't look like that, look again." After the fourth time, as his voice got even louder, my body began to tremble from his powerful words, and I understood that this was just the beginning of the lesson. By the 10th time, he was shouting at the top of his voice, "If in any case it still doesn't seem to be the case, look again." After he finished, he returned to his learning and gave me a sign that I was dismissed. As I left, my body was shaking from the roar of the stipler's voice ringing in my ears. Only a person who knew the stipler can understand my experience. I didn't know the stipler, but I knew people who had firsthand experience with the stipler, and I know that they the power behind him. All right, his intention was clear. After one is already married, there is no possibility of saying that the shadchan or the person himself made a mistake. There isn't even a possibility to say that the marriage must have been because Hashem wanted to give one of the sides a life of suffering in this world. If on the surface this doesn't seem to be the case, look again. Okay, so that's really where I come in. I tried to help the couple to see to see the tikkun and the perfect tikkun. Like I always say, every pot has a lid, and the perfect tikkun that both would love to avoid, but it doesn't. There's nothing one can do. This is our avoda. This is our tikkun. This is for this reason we are brought here, and we do it. We reveal Hashem in this world. Marriage is about revealing Hashem and bringing Hashem down. It's like the Jewish home is a nuclear energy plant. It pours out the energy of Hashem's existence into the world. If you look again deeper, and it seems to be clear that there was a mistake, look again even deeper. Don't stop looking until you find why you were wrong. Once the couple made it to the chuppah, they have a chazakah that this is the will of Hashem and it is for their best, even in this world. And then he has a footnote, of course, that says that if a couple is to get divorced, it's a mitzvah to get divorced. This does not mean that this is a footnote. This does not mean that a relationship can't reach a state which requires divorce. Giving a get is one of the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah when there is no other choice. Okay, so there are circumstances within which the intention here is that there is a chazaka, a very strong assumption that at the beginning of every relationship, there is potential for the couple to achieve shalom bayis if they approach their relationship properly, not with attitudes from the outside world. As explained in the preface, this book doesn't address issues that could be found in couples who have unfortunately reached a state which is close to divorce. In other words, this book is for what we call more healthy, that's where healthy potential relationships. Okay, let's see here when we start. Yes, okay, so we're going on. So the love here is tied in to a knowing that there's something that exists. You have to go treasure hunting. What exists, the deepest level of connection exists no matter what is being expressed or acted out in our interactions. Is just a truth that is greater than anything else. greater than the separation. B'midrash patachnu gilu chazal ki mivchan hanisun eino b'sha'a. So we started out this whole learning that the test of marriage is not when everything is going well and where all expectations are being fulfilled, right? Because that would be an example of reyut, that my expectations, my goals in marriage is to have this, and this X, Y, and Z, some external goal, as opposed to my goal in marriage is to deep sea dive and access the true unity between us. And so it says here, "Yitachen she'en kan ela re'ut yedidut shel kabbalat to'elet u'mimush mitzonos." In other words, re'ut again is part of marriage. Yes, we do have external goals, and it reflects what we want, not what we know is the truth about the marriage, that we are a unity, but what our individual wants are. V'harei gam b'shah shehi zona im natan la harei hi modelo. So even if she is, we said a woman who's not faithful to this unity between herself and her husband in her marriage, unfortunately, the language they use is I say they use, it's being used in the Gemara is znus. And actually, not even in the Gemara, we started off by learning that when Am Yisrael was not faithful to Hashem, it was called znus. Znus is prostitution, unfaithfulness. Okay, so what we're experiencing here is that a woman is faithful to that unity under all circumstances. This is part and parcel of the marriage. So we have to, the marital bond is based on a reality that is on the nefesh level. It is the one neshama, it's the one creation, it's the unity. And it doesn't have any, it's not tied into, it's a separate aspect of our connection with our husbands. It is not about what I want. I want to have a certain type of house, and I want to have a certain size family, and I want to educate my children a certain way. And those are external wants. What the marriage, the permanence and the stability of the marriage is on the intrinsic reality, the permanent, eternal, intrinsic reality that they are a unity. Me'al l'chol matarav ha'soelet omedet hashifa ha'torah shel ha'adam la'amod al metziuso ha'nechona ha'yesodit l'smoch b'chalko ha'amiti. Okay, so the idea is to be happy, because on the neshama level, there's goodness, there's unity, there's happiness, because what is the source of happiness? Connection. When do we feel unhappy? When we feel disconnected, whether it's from ourselves, that's depression, or from other people. So when we get to the place of the essential, then we have happiness, we have the love of unity, we have connection, we have, it is the place of fulfillment. This is the place where we can truly be fulfilled. Okay. So we have to have, this is a yearning. In other words, young couples getting married don't even know that this is enough. They might hear some words, some passing words, but they don't understand that this is what we want to cultivate in getting married, is the accessing of this unity. And it's the place where we meet Hashem. We need Hashem to help us to stay connected. And this is the desire. This going into marriage is the desire to deep sea dive, to deeper than the emotions, deeper than my logic, is the truth of our union. Hold on 1 minute, please. 1 minute. I'm going to mute everybody. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, okay. So deeper than my emotions, deeper than my logic is a truth. Truth is deeper than my logic and emotions. It's a knowing. And this truth, it's not, you have to be taught. We have to be educated. But when we access it, the result is Chen Isha al Ba'ala, this incredible magnetic field where the woman becomes so beloved to her husband. All right? Because why is she so beloved? Because he feels her intrinsic connection to him. They feel their absolute unity, bond, belonging together, fulfillment of that belonging together. And a woman wants to get to a place where she recognizes that her life is really a function of her relationship with her husband. Her true life is fulfilled in her relationship with her husband. And that her nefesh and his nefesh, her nefesh is etched out of his nefesh. It's all one. Hanemanut el hargashot amukot elu. So this faithfulness to these deep knowings and feelings, lahamid otam me'al l'chol tahafluchot hachaim, to put that at the forefront, in front of anything else that comes to sabotage that knowing, because life circumstances are there to challenge their tests. Below lazuz mehen, and we don't move. He kiyum habris. This is the true fulfillment of the bris, the bris of Nisuim. Bris coming from the word bria, a creation, a unity, a creation where two become one because they are really one in the source. Kamidaso shel kadosh baruch hu shehu ne'eman b'briso. So we are showing our faithfulness the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu is faithful to his connection to us. He is going to, what did we say his connection to us is? Hashem is going to always, we are, as Am Yisrael, we just came out of Pesach, we are always, no matter, we're always in the danger zone. There's always enemies who have their eye on destroying us, collectively and individually. So Hashem is faithful because he's saving us. We are still here, despite every generation, the desire to exterminate Am Yisrael is alive. The electric fence, people they love to throw every Jew on and be electrified against the electric fence. And yet Hashem protects us. Hashem sends us, he says in the Tehillim, Ani Shomrecha v'tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Hashem is protecting us. We don't even realize what type of dangers we're in. And he's our shadow, meaning we are always able and is responsible to speak to Hashem for every little thing. It's living with Hashem. He's our shadow. He's right there. So when we connect our relationship with our husbands, Hashem, we are renewing our relationship of Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not just for us, but for all. We're protecting all of Am Yisrael. So there will be Yeshuas for all of Yisrael. And Hashem is faithful to us because he gave us the way to be faithful to him, the Torah. And Hashem is there and faithful to us, and because Hashem gave us the ability to know Hashem and to see Hashem in our lives, even though Hashem is not physical or visible, but Hashem is in our life. Hashem gives us the opportunity through our seichel and through our Hashem gives us the opportunity through our seichel, through our feelings, and through our knowing, our emunah, to have that type of closeness with Hashem. So that's called a bris. A bris is a closeness that is a unity. It's not a seam, it has no seam, a seamless relationship. So Hashem is faithful to his bris with us, as we are faithful with our bris to him, which is basically Brit Nisuim and the Brit that we have that is through the Torah and the mitzvahs. Kolomar ma'amid et kiyum habrit mi'al l'chol hashikulim mekayem es ha'olam. So the Brit is really a eternal promise that Hashem is going to maintain his relationship with Am Yisrael, despite anything that's going on, no matter what. There's Hashem is eternal, and because we have a connection, right? We are Hashem's children. We have a connection. We become an eternal nation as well. Amnam bris hanisuim mitchadeshet lazug al yedei hashlamot hashlemut v'hasimcha hameira be'et hatova. Okay, now the connection, the marital connection, renews itself. Now we know how it renews itself, certainly intimately, when we're in the period of our lives where we are menstrual. So that, of course, is a renewed connection of shleimus and simcha and happiness. Kashem shabri social kadosh baruch hu im Yisrael niftacha b'hashpa'at kol tova. So when things are going well, now of course, when there's famine or there's a national disaster, husbands and wives do not, the Rebbeim decree then that husbands and wives cannot have relationship. For instance, when Noah was in the ark with his wife and daughters, they could not have marital relations because there was destruction. There was the Mabul, the flood, the whole world was being destroyed. So when there's disaster, the couple cannot have that simcha of unity intimately. But by the same token, we do experience unity and good times. You sit down at a Shabbos table, you see the beautiful fruits of your effort. The wife's effort could be everything from making the money, helping to bring in parnasa, to shopping and planning and cooking and clean. Everything she does is her contribution to a beautiful, happy Shabbos. Her husband helps on Friday. He helps maybe even all the other days of the week when she knows she's smart enough to know how to ask him for his help. We never try to be alone on anything, because the partnership is what creates also asking for help. Asking is connection, is relationship. That's why we ask Hashem. We know Hashem knows everything we need, but we have to ask for every little thing because that shows and demonstrates our connection to Hashem, and it's the same thing with our husbands. So the idea is that we build and we look for as many happy opportunities to connect, easy opportunities, let's say, to connect. But the real test of the marriage and the relationship is at the hard times, and that has in it, though, when we connect at that point, it brings with it, however, true fulfillment of the marriage and true simcha. The simcha is accessing the unity. And we will see the outcome of a woman's chaim and faithfulness and feeling her connection, that they belong together. A woman reinforces the way she connects to her husband, her belonging to each other. And he in turn feels that she's the missing piece and he's the missing whole. That unity comes. It's sort of like recreating the original creation of Adam and Chava when they unite like this. And so when we access that, Hashem opens up the channels of bracha to the couple. So even in the hard times, we have the bracha, and we get resources that we wouldn't have if we didn't have those connections. The connection opens up the channel for the resources to come down. And we can ask for those resources when we are showing and acting out our connection to our husband. So this is very delicate and very subtle. I mean, to do this is not subtle. You have to really to stay connected in all circumstances. It takes tefillah, it takes courage, it takes humility. But the outcome is it opens up the channels of Shefa on the couple, and new ways of dealing with situations just sort of pop up and appear. Okay, so it's not just, it says here like this. Okay, so Hashem gives us external, things that we talked about, the reyus. We fulfill external goals in the relationship. And as I said, the higher the goal is, the more permanent it is part of the relationship, because it's spiritual goals really fuel the good in the relationship, because it helps us make the right decisions, better decisions. Higher goals help us make better decisions. And we, of course, turn to Hashem to ask Hashem to help us in making our decisions. We take Eitzah, but it says here, but the idea of reaching these other goals is to get to the real goal. What's the real goal? Getting and accessing the pnimit, the reality of the unity between them. That is just a goal in of itself. And it's as I say, from my perspective, it is the answer to how a couple reenacts the original creation of Adam and Chava, bringing Hashem in to the picture and being aware of why Hashem created the marriage, the unity. It is the most powerful way to bring Hashem into this world. And this, of course, when we do this, is to the benefit of the couple. So if the goal of the marriage ends only with the external goals, and of course, if the external goals are not so high level, not so spiritual, then it's going to be it's not going to be a very stable marriage. It could very easily fall apart. because the essence of what marriage is about never was fulfilled. And of course, in that case, a woman's unfaithfulness to that part, to the deep sea diving, to the unity of the marriage, if she's not faithful to that, it is expressed as being a prostitution. Im natan la harehi moda. If she gets what she wants, she's grateful. The im lo natan la eno makeret oto. And if he doesn't have the resources yet to give her, she is not. She doesn't jump ship, but she jumps track. She'll go on to another track. She'll look for somebody else who will give her what she wants on the external level. But the key here is to know how to get to the deepest level of the unity. And I have to reiterate that what will help us a lot to get to that is to try to take no out of as much as we can out of the vocabulary and be able to say, I wish I could. No is, no matter how sweetly you say it, is some sort of a rejection. I wish I could indicates connection. Also, no matter how insulting, critical, degrading something happens, and in a private moment, you say, I know this wasn't your intention. Let's say if a husband even insults a wife, you're not allowed to embarrass a person publicly. But some people are so obtuse that they just, or so insensitive in the moment. So if we want our husbands or anybody to be sensitive, we have to start off with giving them the benefit of the doubt. I know it wasn't your intention to belittle me and degrade me in public. If something like this happens again, where I take something you didn't want me to buy, or if you could save it and tell me privately, it would mean the world to me. You have to know that's chen. You think he doesn't deserve it. He did something terrible. But the chen is, with chen, I can give the other person the benefit of the doubt. With chen, I can let the other person know what makes me happy, what would mean a lot to me, how I would like things to be done. There's always another way of doing things. I know, and this approach is critical to making everything, to accessing and making the unity, the deeper unity, the reality of the marriage, and external goals, the fine touches that we would like as being something that we're going to be working towards, but it's not ma'akev. It doesn't, if we get what we want on the external or we don't, it doesn't prevent me from accessing the deep truth of this marriage, which is basically when I connect, I'm bringing Hashem down and I'm impacting Hashem's influence on all of Am Yisrael, his protection for all of Am Yisrael. I'm opening up the channels of connection between Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem becomes more apparent in the world based on this little enterprise between myself and my husband called Bris Nisuin. Okay, I'm going to stop now, and everybody's going to say one thing you heard today that stands out in your mind. I'm going to take my little notebook here. Okay, Meirav.
Hi.
Hi.
I think this was my favorite. Well, there are many favorites. One of them is acting out of your connection to your husband takes tefillah, humility, new ways of creativity, etc. But it opens up the channels of Shefa.
Right.
That's a paraphrasing, of course.
Yes. So say it slowly. Acting
out your connection to your husband takes tefillah, humility, new ways and creativity, etc. But it opens up the channels of Shefa.
Right. New ways of doing things, of creatively doing things. and it opens up the channels of Shefa. Yes. I just think acting out your connection. Right. Excellent. Thank you, Mayrav. All
Yeah.
right. Let's see here. Tamar, one thing you heard today? If you could, unmute yourself. Maybe she's driving. I don't know if she can. All right, let's see who else is with me. Okay. Okay. Rachel, I know you came in late, but you might have heard something that stands out in your mind. No, she hung up. Okay, so I only have left Tamar. If you can unmute yourself and say one thing that stood out in your mind, it means it'll be great. Are you in a position to do so? I don't think so. Okay. So I thank you all for joining today. I hope that you heard this Torah in a way that you can put it into practice in Mirza Hashem. And I thank you all and looking forward to next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.